Hello, guys, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to my podcast of inspiring stories. Guys, it's been a while. Today, I am here with a very interesting topic, something I've thought a lot on, but really never found somebody to talk with. I am so honored to have my guest Paul come on and speak about his story and educate us about autism. I'm really looking forward to this conversation because I am going to learn today. I'm going to get educated on this today. Guys, without any further delay, let me bring my guest on and let's start our conversation and let's learn and understand what is autism. And there we are. I'm just connecting with him. I might be holding my book because, you know, some questions that would be great to learn from the audience. Hello.
Good
there.
morning and good evening, may you wish. I'm
How
doing
are you?
fantastic. It's a nice, warm, sunny morning in Toronto, and I'm doing fantastic. I'm really looking forward to having this conversation. And thank you so much for having me on. I hope that you had a lovely day in Pakistan today.
Yes. Just give me a second. I'm just going to
No
put my
problem.
hands-free on so I can hear you more
Sounds
clearly.
good. Take your time. Can you hear me okay on your end?
There we go. There. Now I can hear you
Can
clearly.
you hear me okay?
Yes. My phone is broken, so it's just I have to have the hands-free on. I just forgot to put it on before starting.
I'm just gonna
Anyways,
put my phone back a little bit. There we go.
so so before we dive in our conversation, I just want you to do a little of a self-introduction, where you are, where
Of
you're
course.
from, just a little bit brief introduction, and then we'll dive in our conversation.
Absolutely, by all means. So just to give a little bit of a background to the audience in Pakistan and anybody who might be listening across the world today. My name is Paul Walderman. I am born and raised in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So I grew up in a part of Toronto called North York. It's in the north part of Toronto. So I'm 31 years old. I was raised in a Jewish family in Toronto, and I went to George Brown College and got myself a business administration degree there, and I later went to Ryerson University for a year and did an entrepreneurship bachelor and a liberal arts in history. So that's my educational background and my family background. Really, I worked in many part-time jobs growing up, including a quality assurance lab at a company called Belmont Meat Products. It was owned by my father and his business. It was a family business, as a matter of fact. And I spent some summers there working in quality assurance. I spent some time as a delivery clerk for a property management company for one summer, and I interned at our Toronto Football Club, which is our soccer team. I did analytics there. I collected some. I was a shot collector, like for goals and everything. So that's my background, and my current profession is I actually work as a digital content specialist for a high profile company called Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. And so they're based in Toronto. They own some of the highest profile sporting teams in North America. So they own like the Toronto Maple Leafs, which is our ice hockey team, the Toronto Raptors, which is our basketball team, and are quite frankly a very popular global brand, and they won the NBA championship 2 years ago. They own Toronto FC, the soccer team, and the Toronto Argonauts football club. Um, and my primary focus is on the Toronto Argonauts website, and I just I publish articles on their website, for fan engagement. So that's my entire background story, and where I'm from and where I live and what I do for work, and so that's pretty much sums up that part of the segment, Maywish, and so yeah.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for giving us so much detail. First of all, Paul, I just wanted to thank you. I know you posted on a group and I reached out and you opened your arms and you said, yes, let's do this podcast. Let's talk about it. Uh, and I feel really honored and I
Me too.
feel that especially at my side of the world, people really need to be so educated and informed, even myself. So thank you for giving me the pleasure, for giving this exposure to people at my side of the world. First of all, how's lockdown going
Pardon
for
me.
you? How's your lockdown going?
Well, it's not going exactly so like as we would like. I mean, we just got ourselves into another what our premier is calling a stay-at-home order. So it's going to last another 28 days, but really it's like complicated in
Okay.
Toronto and in Ontario. We're on a coded system, and so the gray is like the
Oh,
lockdown area, and we've been in this situation for since November the 23rd, if I remember correctly, and you know, so it's really
wow.
been a long time. But I mean, it's been really
Wow.
inconsistent here, and it's been definitely tough, during the course of the pandemic to work from
Yeah.
home and just to it's been difficult for a lot of people. But we're persevering.
Different kind of challenges, right?
Pardon?
Different kind of
Yeah,
challenges.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, wow. Well, I hope things get better for you and you can get out of lockdown. Well, you still at least can go out for a walk and, that's always you should always think at the positive as
Right.
well, right? Okay, well, let's dive into our conversation
Of
about
course.
autism. So my very first question is, well, you did tell me about you and your background. Is there anything else you would want to add on to it before we continue, or you? I think you said
I'm
most of
pretty
it.
sure I
You told
said
most
most
of
of
it.
it, so I think we're good to go. So why don't
Yeah,
let's begin.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so can you like for the audience, can you describe autism
Absolutely,
actually? Let's
absolutely.
start from there.
So yeah, well, thanks again, of course, for suggesting this
You
conversation.
okay? There,
Yep,
you're back.
and so I will dive in to break down on what autism is, and like just as a
Yes.
condition. So the short answer to begin is autism is a neurological condition. So it's a very, very complex condition. So it's
Okay.
a spectrum autism. So like it means that like it's very, very broad, and like it's like a large circle, more than a line, I would say. So it's not like so it's like it's not like the political spectrum. It's like it's its own spectrum. So it's not really a line. It's more of a circle, and
Okay.
there's so many different ranges of autism. So it can range from mild to severe, or high to low functioning. Sometimes people don't like to use the terms high or low functioning, just because for sensitivity purposes. So I like to say mild to severe. Let's say it's probably more appropriate context. So
Mm.
everyone, of course, has different, parts. So there's different behavioral traits with autism, that is, common, such as like, anxiety, resistance to change, communication issues, trouble making eye contact, noise sensitivities, reading social cues or social skills issues. and of course, forming relationships, which can mean all kinds of relationships, whether it's romantic relationships or friendships or
Mm.
work relationships or just you're having a relationship with a client or that this and that. It's like it's hard to maintain the consistencies of having the conversation when you're on the autism spectrum. And again, it's very important to be clear here that it is a spectrum and everyone's going to be very, very different, so that means they can have like, different behaviors, different, skill sets, different challenges. And, so everyone will live differently, will behave differently. And it's like, so autism is pretty much all
Okay.
over the place. And which is why it's a very, very difficult subject to understand, but it's a very unique subject. It's a very fascinating subject too for scientists and doctors to understand too. That's the way I
Mm.
can describe what autism is to people, to the audience.
Wow. Wow. Wow, wow. And that's so correct because I know a couple of people who have autism and they're totally different. One is totally different than the other. So it just depends, like you said, from the high to the low or the severity and everything. And it's really interesting because before I was ever exposed, I just thought it just to be one thing in a box and that's it. This is what autism is. So getting that interaction and meeting people with autism really gave me that sense to understand that it can vary person to person. So thanks for really putting it out there for people listening right now who have, like me, I was oblivious, letting them know this. So Paul, tell me, which form of autism, when were you actually diagnosed with
Yeah,
autism?
yeah, yeah. So I was diagnosed at the age of 3, and so that's
Okay.
normally the age that that people, that young kids would get diagnosed at. They would be like 2 or 3 years old, maybe 4. It's important to keep in mind there's a
Okay.
lot of people that do go undiagnosed, and some might get diagnosed later in life. And like I've heard stories of people in their 50s who get diagnosed and they turn out to be autistic, for example. So it's pretty fascinating.
Wow.
So just to get back on topic on my story. So so I
Yes.
mentioned I was diagnosed in 3. I became
And when did you became
Yep.
when did you became aware of
Yes,
it? Yeah.
thank you for that important question. I became aware of it when I was around probably 7 or 8. Actually, it's kind of hard for me to remember. I know my parents told me at around that time of my life, and I developed more
Okay.
and more over time. But I'll be honest with you, Maywish, I had a lot of struggles processing it. I really didn't come to terms with the reality that I was living with autism until I was probably in my early to maybe mid 20s. So that was like not that long ago. So I'm 31 now, and so it would have been like 5, 6, 7 years ago is probably the time when I began to accept the reality that I live with autism and I'm gonna be different and I'm gonna like not really like understand, like I'm gonna like have to like overcome different challenges or than other parts of society. And we'll dive more into that in a little bit. But yeah, I that's when I kind of became like aware at 7 or 8, and I had a lot of help, and a lot of the times I refused help because I wanted to self-teach myself. So but I definitely like was able to accept the reality that I am autistic, and so that's kind of my story on my awareness period and when I was became like cognizant of my condition.
Right, right. And the way you give your introduction, the in-depth introduction, I just totally loved it. Uh, uh, you're so you're so successful and so accomplished. So that's really great. I just wanted to point that out to you. So Paul, tell me, Which form of autism are you affiliated with on the
Thank you,
spectrum?
Maywish. Phenomenal question. So I mentioned earlier there's all those different forms of autism. When I was describing, what it is to the audience. So I'll dig into my own situation. So my form of
Mm-hmm.
autism is called pervasive developmental disorder or pervasive developmental delay. So not otherwise specified, or PDD NOS for short. So that is a mild form of autism. So it's more mildly functioning. So what does that mean?
Okay.
PDD exactly? It's a
Yes.
developmental condition of autism. So it possesses like delayed developmentality in age, in a sense. Thankfully, for in my case, I was only fortunate to be developmentally delayed by a few years. So I'll just give you a bit of a demonstration that I'm 31 years old, but I kind of possess the
Mm-hmm.
mentality of a 24 to 26-year old. However, in my
Oh.
case, I also have the mentality of like a 40 to 45-year old, and so I have a bit of a days of futures past personality, meaning that I can behave like I'm a more mature adult, but I can also behave like I'm a lot younger as well. Not necessarily like child behavior. I'm saying, but I behave like I'm in
Right,
my
right, right. Yes.
20s, and perhaps like that's where I'm going with
Mm,
this with that statement. And so that's kind of
mm,
really, I don't know, a unique sense with my form of autism and PDD. But of course, anybody else who has PDD could behave differently still. They may not have the same, like behavior or developmental skills potentially, like my case would, for example, which is, again, why, autism is very, very broad, like I said before.
mm, wow, wow, wow. That's so amazing to learn. So tell me, what kind of challenges have you particularly faced uh, uh, in society, in school days, in college days, in romantic relationships? Just to touch on so we could get more sense of it.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. So, I mean, I definitely have faced, a lifetime of challenges living with autism. And I could start by saying that well, some of my upcoming answers and facts I'm going to reveal do overlap with some more earlier questions, but that's all totally okay. And
Yeah, yeah, sure.
so I had challenges, of course, understanding social skills, and like reading social cues. So for example, like understanding if somebody's being sarcastic or not, or their facial expressions, or what their body languages and body tones might be. That kind of stuff is challenging for me, and it's like it's challenging for me to know when to like speak up in a certain social situation,
Oh, you
if I'm with a
breaking
group of
up, Paul.
people.
Um,
Can you hear me now?
I've lost, so I didn't get any answer. So
Hello, can you hear me?
yes, now I can hear you. So I want you to answer the question again
Right.
because I didn't get any of it.
No
The
problem.
voice was just breaking up.
No problem. All good.
before you answer, I just want to say in the chat box, everybody's saying that you're fantastic and they're so
I
proud of
see
you and
that.
they love you. So I just want to share
Of
that.
course,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, and I'll definitely read through them, like a little later on. Appreciate thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Yes.
So just where were we again, Maywish?
So I asked you the question about what kind of challenges you've had in the society, and I just lost you on that because the voice started breaking up. So if you could just answer the whole question again.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm just gonna, for 1 second here, I just want to do something quick, just so I
Yeah, yeah,
can
sure.
see myself in the camera better. So hang on. You see me okay? Perfect.
Yes, yes, I can see you fine.
Okay. So my challenges are like I mentioned, like so a lot of them overlap with some of the previous questions. So which is okay though. I'll answer it again. So like my main challenge is understanding social skills. So like that can mean like reading social cues is a challenge for me. So like understanding like if someone's being sarcastic or not, or like some of their tones and their facial expressions and their body language sometimes is tough for me to pick up every now and then. I'm happy to say I'm getting much better at it. I definitely improved a lot over the years with that stuff, but I'm definitely not perfect there, and I don't expect to be, and that's okay. So that's part of like my main challenge. So it obviously affects me with like you know my dating life, with like forming romantic relationships, knowing if if I'm in a relationship or if I'm not in a relationship, if I know if somebody's my partner, if someone's my, you know,
That's the last word I've heard. So you
I think we're back. I think we're back.
okay? Let's say something.
Yeah, I was just talking about like the social cues and everything, and like how I struggle with like
Yes,
how it
yes,
affects
yes,
me.
yes. You were talking about the how you suffered in dating.
Yeah, like
Yes, yes. Please go on.
it impacts like my dating life every now and then. Like it's hard to have a consistent conversation, to read like body like tones, body language and tones and everything. So that's tough for me sometimes. It's like it's hard for me to pick up when I'm either in a romantic relationship or not. It's like so that's difficult for me in a sense. But yeah, like that's a big challenge for me. And also adapting to change. I'm very much into like routines and everything, and like I mean, once I get into a routine and I'm used to it, I like to stick with it and be focused on the task at hand there.
Mm.
So sometimes if I'm in an unfamiliar situation or I don't know how to deal with something, I might like get like dicey. I might start being like I get nervous sometimes, and that's kind of
Mm.
like typical or common, I would say, with like people on the autism spectrum. I've also struggled with speech impairment too. Like I had a lot of trouble
Okay.
like delivering words when I was younger. I had to do speech therapy, which helped a lot, of course. And I've also done like therapy too, which has also helped. And becoming
Mm.
fixated on certain topics, can be a challenge too. Like,
Right. Okay, Paul, I
sure.
want you to stop because I've
Can you
lost
hear
you
me
again.
okay, Baelish? Can you hear me?
You're you're still breaking.